Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Blatstein, the physician founder of Physician Presentence Report Services. Here's the website, pprsus.com. My phone number, 240 888 7778. Should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Normally, what I do is I go through, what happens following an indictment and the steps you can take to mitigate or get the least possible prison time. Today, though, we're going to talk about getting a full acquittal. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And so the Department of Justice right now has expanded their fraud unit. The first thing that Attorney General Bondi and President Trump did was that they're going after healthcare fraud more than anything else. Nope, very little white collar, mostly just healthcare. And the number one target is going to be if you're a physician provider, if you're the CEO of a healthcare system, if you own a life sciences type of manufacturing or company, um, they're going to go after you. And so, doing your due diligence is that when you go ahead and first, and you pick your attorney. I have here a link that legal representation is your first physician. I have 14 questions. You want to ask the attorney. You want to make sure they've experienced with cases like yours in federal court. And there are some other, recommended questions that I provide. But this is a strategic decision between you and your attorneys. So it's important for you and your lawyer to be both on the same page, to be very honest with them. And if they feel that you have a case, I'm not saying don't do it. My only recommendation is that you go to court, but you do not want to alienate the judge or the court itself, because should unfortunately you not prevail with an acquittal and you still are found guilty, you have to go back to that same judge for leniency. So it's very important to be respectful the whole time, no matter what is going on in the courtroom. Here's a case. These are lab executives. They were exonerated. It was in Florida. There were two owners of an independent clinical laboratory. They were accused of conspiring to commit healthcare fraud and wire fraud. And so there was a third party, and the third party pled guilty. Still, the two owners went to court, and they were exonerated. And this was a big deal. It was a large amount of money, and this is what the Department of Justice is looking for. And so you need to be aware, especially when you're in the healthcare space, is that right now, artificial intelligence is playing a very big role in figuring out your billing, how you can, if there's kickbacks involved. It's data driven, and they have a fraud section that expands the country, each with its own specialty. I hear of the healthcare fraud unit, a map you'll be able to see as you look at the video. But their approach is going to be data driven with convictions, and they're going to start really quick. Most of the time, these are going to be civil or financial penalties, but there will be criminal ones, as was the case here. And so they're doing high impact litigation, and they're going to attempt to get the strongest case they can against you. So the strike force model is dependent on their data analytics. And so you can't outsmart them. What you can do, though, is make sure that all of your documentation, your billing, how you conduct your business um, is on the up and up. And maybe you have a portion of your staff that acts as an independent agency within your business or office, just to make sure that you're abiding by all reputable laws. Medicare Advantage is a problem. It's as healthcare and the population ages with the Affordable Care Act now in question. People may go from regular Medicare to Medicare Advantage, which is not Medicare. Medicare Advantage is completely different. These are private companies that attempt to provide similar care, but there is, they box you into to less. You're not going to access the exact same amount of care as someone who has actual Medicare. But again, they're going after strongly these Medicare Advantage programs where they're promising, and the agents that sell you the policy are promising everything, and that turns out not to be the case. Ambulatory surgery centers, these are going to become, their growth is expected to to explode as we enter 2030. And so it's important to understand the landscape and the ambulatory surgery center landscape as higher acuity procedures, because they're not going to be done in the hospital anymore, or they're moving them from hospital to ASCs. There's be robotic specialty equipment. I had a my prostate removed robotically. There's payment and regulatory shifts, prior authorization expansion. All of this is unfortunately tedious work, but if you're the provider or the hospital system, you need to have everything documented because needs should they come and investigate you, showing your clinical growth with an attempt for compliance, transparency in this data-driven landscape that we're in will go a long way in the conversation you would have with those inspectors coming in from the Department of Justice. There's more here that I could go through. The first target is you, white collar life sciences. You can find it on the website. The main purpose of this particular YouTube is to show you that you can get acquitted and it's okay going to court as long as you know that your attorneys have experience with cases like yours in federal court. You tell everything, you tell the truth. It's all documented. You have trust and faith in your attorneys. And if you don't, talk to them. And then also, you don't want to alienate or anger the judge because if you happen not to be acquitted, you need to go back to that. You'll go back to that same judge or courtroom for leniency, requesting leniency and attempting to mitigate the damage of the sentence, which is where my service comes into this. I hope that you've found this somewhat enlightening. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and have a good, safe day.